Alrighty, so we are going to copy these problems that are on the next blank right-hand side of your notebook. You're going to title it Zoom Lesson 9-10-2020. And there are a couple different ways that we're going to solve this first one, and you can use whichever way makes most sense to you. So on the first one, we've got a grocery store clerk can scan one product every half of a second. So if we do one product over a half of a second, at what rate can she scan products? And it says how many products per second. So we've got 1 second on the bottom. So there are two different ways that you can approach this problem. We can do it the way we've been doing it, and to get from a half of a second to 1 second, we would have to divide by 1/2, because 1/2 divided by 1/2 is going to give us 1, and whatever we do on the denominator, we have to do to the numerator. So then we've got 1 divided by 1/2. So I change 1 into a fraction of 1 over 1, and then you're dividing that by 1/2. And if you'll remember from 6th grade, you cannot divide by a fraction, so we keep this first number, we change to multiplication, and we flip over or use the reciprocal of a half, which is 2. So we've got 1 over 1 times 2 over 1 is 1 times 1. 1 times 2 is 2, and 1 times 1 is 1. So that would be 2 products per second. So that's one way that you could do it. Or you can look at it like this. You've got 1 product in a half of a second, and we want 1 whole second. So 1/2 of a second times 2, because 1/2 times 2 is going to give us a whole second. And so we would multiply times 2 up here to get 2 products per second. Either way, our rate or unit rate is 2 products per second. And that's because dividing by a half is the same thing as multiplying by 2. So then we've got the next one. We've got Shelly's cup of tea cooled down at a half of a degree in 10 minutes. So we've got 1/2 of a degree in 10 minutes. At what rate is her tea cooling down? And we want degrees per minute. That means per 1 minute. So we're looking for that unit rate. To get from 10 minutes to 1 minute, we divide by 10. Whatever we do to the denominator, we also have to do to the numerator. So we have 1/2 divided by, and we're going to do 10 over 1 because that's 10. Again, we can't divide by a fraction, so we do 1/2. We change the division to multiplication, and then we use the reciprocal or the flip. We change the numerator and the denominator. And then we just multiply straight across. 1 times 1 is 1. 2 times 10 is 20. So we have 1/20 of a degree in 1 minute. And then we're also going to copy down these 2 problems. So an artist has completed 1/4 of a painting in 2 weeks. So we've got 1/4 of a painting in 2 weeks. At what rate is the artist working? And we want to know how many paintings per week. So that means in 1 week. So to get from 2 paintings to 1 painting, we divide by 2. And whatever we do to the denominator, we also do to the numerator. And then we've got 1/4 divided by 2 over 1, which is 2. And so then we keep the first number since we can't divide by a fraction. We change division to multiplication. And then we use the reciprocal or the flip. We flip that fraction over. And then we just multiply straight across. 1 times 1 is 1. 4 times 2 is 8. So we have 1/8 of a painting per week. Then we've got Jen rode her bike 1/5 of a mile to her friend's house. It took her 5 minutes to get there. So 1/5 of a mile. And it took her 5 minutes to get there. What was Jen's speed in miles per minute? So we want the per minute means in 1 minute. To go from 5 minutes to 1 minute, we're dividing by 5. And then we've got 5 divided by 5 is 1. And then we have 1/5 divided by 5 over 1, or divided by 5. Can't divide by a fraction, so we keep the first fraction. We change division to multiplication. And then we do the reciprocal or the flip. 1/5, we flip it over. And then we multiply straight across. 1 times 1 is 1. And 5 times 5 is 25. So she can go 1/25 of a mile per